That's where we at now. Where no one is calibrated to take these conversations on because, I've reached out for people to collab and they're not calibrated for these topics to even rebut. So I'm going to get into it. Of course, you speak yourself into existence through your parents, basically through that internal dialogue, your will or that voice grows greater and greater and becomes a cluster of vibration, also known as a human body. So just the volume changes, really. That's it. The voice, you're just an expression or a voice or an angle of light or darkness, however you want to put it, however you want to look at it. And of course, when we get into this reincarnation thing, when people die, they're an aspect of you going from outside of you to inside of you. And when you have a kid, that aspect of you is going from inside of you to outside of you for a lesson. It's all for lessons. So, as long as we're remembering here, let me get into it. Of course, you can't, God or supposed I, doesn't, whatever you want to call it, identify this thing with, does not give you anything you can't handle because, of course, like I said before, any decision that would have led to a death of yours would not be remembered because how could you remember your own death? Especially if it's traumatic. Again, any traumatic death is a death that is a waking death. So, sometimes you remember them, sometimes they're called dreams, and if you even look at the root word of dream, drom or trauma, is where dream comes from, the Germanic word, and then we go further back, we're just going to go back to the original vibrations or sounds that people call letters. Anyway, that's why language is key here, because we need to understand how we speak our existence, because we are a voice, and we'll always have a voice, whether we have a body or not. And speaking of reincarnation even more, you got to look at every ejaculation as a birth, of course, and the emotions and the energy surrounding the room and the whole environment determines what you birth into this reality at any layer. It's going to manifest at some layer, and it's a birth. That's just how. It's a creation. It's a manifestation, and really, the basic things in life would just come down to keeping a clear distinction between heart, lower self, and upper self, or whatever you want to call it that. And that problem occurs, there's a separation there, or a problem that occurs usually when there's an interference in the lower self, which is normally parasites, which comes from a mentality of letting other people run your life. Because that's how we gotta look at it. The best thing for parasites, mentally, emotionally, that it will all wash away if we clean every aspect of ourselves. That's like retraining our internal dialogue. This changes our whole chemistry. This changes our blood. This changes everything because your cells are governed by your thinking. And if we just clean the physical aspect, everything will follow. If we clean the mental, but it starts, of course, with a mental or less physical initiative to change. So the main things to do would be to add, if you want to clean up, diatomaceous earth. Diatoms will kill, adult parasites. Kills everything pretty much. Diatomaceous earth is one of the greatest things for anybody suffering with parasites. And the CDC claims that 85% of America is suffering. So that would be a great sum of people just in America. So you're likely to have some sort of parasite if you're an American. And diatomaceous earth will help you with every meal. Add the food grade to every meal with your seasoning, not in excess of 2% of the sum of the meal. And of course, apple cider vinegar shots, probably as you rise, midday, and after your last meal. You could chase them with water. You can, however you want to, consume them. And then we want to clean our blood with the red clover. We want to nourish our blood with the yellow dock. The dandelion root for our liver and our pineal. Because again, as above, so below. If your lower self, this lower brain is thrown off, the upper brain will be thrown off. And most people aren't dreaming, so they're not dealing with the traumas, because a dream is a trauma a lot of the times, because if we get down to the root of it, that's what they are. That's why you don't remember them. But if you address things in your waking life, if you're real with yourself in your waking life, you will start to receive the messages from your dreams, because you'll be prepared for them. Because this is no more than a dream. This is no less than a dream. So, you're cleaning up your blood with the apple cider vinegar, with the red clover, saw palmetto for your prostate, sarsaparilla as well. These things are also good for the opposite, the polar opposite, if you can call it opposition, which would be, of course, the uterus. So, if we just have the hormones balanced, and the hormones are just nothing more than actions of the minerals, the 102 minerals of the body. If we have the minerals balanced, the hormones will be balanced, and whenever a mineral is being leached upon, a certain dis-ease will express itself. But again, that it usually just comes down to energy and not letting energy flow. The posture is so much of it, and just not letting energy flow has everything to do with the buildups, the blockages, the false growths. You have a false growth in your life that becomes a cyst. You might be climbing the ladder in economics, but in other ways you're digging a grave. So it's a false growth. So you might have cysts, also known as nests for parasites. Let's just continue on with the nourishment though here. Like I said, the herbs that I mentioned before, Cascara sagrada would again clean the bowels. Enema therapy is something that is pretty much a necessity. If you're tired, you're either dehydrated or you need an enema. It's just that simple. It's really you're not you. You could say your body is your mind or your mind is your body, but there is, I guess, a sheath between the two. Either way, your thoughts become your reality, however you want to put it, and your thoughts are nothing more than something that you've attached to an emotional stimuli in the human antenna. So, once we clean the antenna, then we can get the channel that we desire. We can change channels as we want. We're stuck on the movies that we don't even like seeing. We've seen them a million times. So, let's just change the channel. Like my man changed the channel. Wasn't that one dude? I forget his name, but shout out to him. Anyway, I think that's a pretty nice roundabout. I mean, a roundup of that right there. I got this other book coming out called Stuffed Pig. It's just mainly about the impotence epidemic and about how, again, people are seasons. And you can call it a season or just going through a cosmic chapter. And it's the same thing with cycles. Again, you have an internal cycle that is an ancestor, whoever it may be. You got to understand the moon signs, the rising signs at conception, and your own rising signs and moon signs at conception. So 9 months prior to coming out of your mother. We're talking about the real birth. Not even a birth. The real arrival. The real entering into the density. Not where it begins, but I guess you could say where it begins. Through the male principle into the female principle. From the ether or from the dark matter, what have you. So, there's so many things I want to cover. There's so many things I can cover here. I'm just going to get into it with the seasons and how people are seasons. So you go through a period. If you have a partner, you can understand it too. Especially in a life duality. Your partner might be your greatest enemy. Your partner, all this could be. See, this again. It's so much to cover, because since everybody's related, and you got to understand that this is a reality of duality, and everybody's in a relative reality, and everyone. We're male and female to different ratios, or the Elohim to different